While recovering from surgery, I asked my son for help carrying groceries. Instead, he rolled his eyes and told his wife to let the old thing learn. That night, I heard him bragging about transferring my pension account to their name. The next morning, I walked into the bank and froze when I saw who was already there. I'm 68, widowed, and recovering from back surgery. I'm not frail, but I move slow, especially now. For most of my life, I worked banking jobs, temp offices, even cleaned houses when I had to. I never had much, but I saved what I could. My late husband passed young, heart attack in his sleep when Tyler was 14. After that, it was just me and the boy. Tyler was bright growing up, polite, respectful. Teachers said he was mature for his age. He went to college on a mix of grants and what I had saved. I even took out a small loan to help cover his housing, so he didn't have to work his first year. That was a mistake I never mentioned to him. Just swallowed the extra job to cover it. Anyway, he moved to Austin, married Shauna. She's sharp, always dressed nice, but never quite warm. We saw them on holidays mostly. Then about 14 months ago, Tyler called and said he lost his job. Tech company downsizing. Short term, he said. Just until I lined something else up. I told him they could come home. I had the guest room. Plenty of space. They moved in 2 weeks later. Shauna complained about the heat, the bugs, and the house being too quiet. Tyler said they just needed time to get their feet under them. I didn't charge rent. I even offered to pause part of my pension draw so they could use the extra cash for job searching. Then I had surgery 6 weeks ago. I was in real pain. Couldn't drive. Couldn't stand too long. I told Tyler ahead of time I'd need some help. He said, "Of course, Mom." But after the first week, it felt like I was an inconvenience. They stayed out late. I'd wake up to dishes in the sink, doors unlocked. One morning, I asked Shauna if she could grab my prescriptions while she was running errands. She blinked at me and said, "Oh, I thought Tyler already took care of all your stuff." He hadn't. The moment that broke me happened last week. I had groceries delivered to the front porch. I asked Tyler, literally asked from the recliner where I was recovering, if he could bring them in. He was on the couch, phone in his hand, didn't even look up. "Shauna," he said casually. "Go help the old thing. Let her learn to ask sooner next time." She laughed. Like, I was this forgetful, fragile pet they had to tolerate. My throat tightened. I didn't say a word. I carried those bags in myself one by one. Took me 30 minutes. I had to sit down on the steps halfway through. That night, around 11 p.m., I was trying to sleep. My room is down the hall from the living room. They must have thought I was out cold, but I wasn't. I heard Tyler on speaker. I didn't catch who he was talking to, but the tone, the arrogance, I'll never forget. "She won't notice," he said. "I told the bank, she gave me full access. Dumb as she is, she doesn't even check the balances anymore." He laughed. "She trusts me. I'm just consolidating the pension accounts under our name, so it's easier to manage. Hell, it's mine anyway. She's not gonna need it much longer." I sat up in bed. My mouth was dry. My hands were shaking. I felt sick. I'd never once given him access to my accounts. He had no legal power of attorney, but I knew I'd been careless. I remembered now, 2 months ago, I had left my desk open while printing bank statements. He'd been in the room, and I hadn't locked the drawer where I kept my account folder since the surgery. I'd been too tired to think about it. I waited until morning, didn't sleep a minute, just sat there replaying his words. At 8:55 a.m., I walked into my bank branch on Cherry Street. It was quiet, cool, familiar. I've banked there for 30 years. I asked to see a manager. But before I could finish my sentence, I saw him. Tyler. He was already at the counter, holding a folder. My folder. My handwriting. My statements. "It should be under Teresa Martin," he said. "She authorized me to manage the pension. I've got the documents she gave me." I stopped walking. I felt like the air was sucked out of the room. The manager hadn't seen me yet, but I saw her flipping through the forms he handed her. I knew those forms. Some were old printouts for my files. One of them looked like a signature page. My name. But I never signed anything like that. He didn't know I was behind him. He didn't know I'd heard every word the night before. And right then something changed in me. A switch. He was still my son. But he was no longer my family. He thought I was slow, weak, some sad little woman on her way out, but he forgot. I built my life from nothing. I raised him alone. I worked jobs that broke my back just to make sure he never went hungry. And now he wanted to steal from me? He had no idea what I was capable of. The bank manager finally looked up and saw me standing there. Her eyes widened a little. We'd known each other for years. Her name's Melissa. Used to work the front desk back when I first started coming in. She stood up from behind the counter and said, "Mrs. Martin, I didn't expect to see you this morning." Tyler turned. The look on his face, he didn't even try to hide it. First surprise, then annoyance. Like I'd interrupted a meeting he thought was already in the bag. "Mom," he said, faking a smile. "I was just handling some of your financial stuff to take the pressure off. Thought I'd surprise you." I looked straight at Melissa. "Is my son trying to access my accounts?" There was a long pause. Then Melissa asked gently, "Do you have power of attorney paperwork on file with us?" "I do not," I said. "Nor have I ever given him access." She stiffened. "So, did the young teller nearby?" Tyler let out a short laugh. "Mom, come on. We talked about this. You said, no." I cut him off. "You talked. I never agreed to anything. And I sure as hell didn't sign over my pension." He went quiet then. His jaw clenched. His hands balled into fists still holding my folder. Melissa motioned me over. She took us both to the back room. Privacy. A little office with a closed door and cameras on. She opened my account profile and turned the monitor so I could see. Someone had tried to initiate a name change and begin a transfer of funds to a new joint account, one with Tyler and Shauna's names on it. The request was flagged because the signatures didn't match the ones on file. Melissa said they were waiting on a verification call. Tyler had tried to get ahead of that by coming in person. "Those are forged," I said calmly. "That is not my writing." She nodded, pursed her lips, and said, "Then we'll escalate this." Tyler stood there, still holding my folder, and said nothing. His whole face had gone cold. When we got home, he didn't speak to me. Neither did Shauna. She slammed their bedroom door. I could hear them arguing. He told her I was being dramatic and that she's ruining this for both of us. The next day, they were gone for hours. When they came back, Shauna had a smug look like nothing touched her. She passed me in the hallway and said, "Just so you know, Tyler was only trying to make sure you didn't end up broke. You should be grateful." I didn't answer. Over the next week, they started pushing boundaries. First, they stopped doing dishes altogether. Then, they unplugged my Wi-Fi and set up their own router, locking me out. One morning, I found Tyler sitting in my reading chair, feet up, shoes on, scrolling through my mail like it was his. "You're lucky we're still here," he muttered when I asked what he was doing. "Without us, you'd probably fall down and rot before anyone noticed." Shauna laughed from the kitchen. "I started keeping my bedroom locked. I changed all my banking passwords, froze the accounts, and filed a formal fraud report. I contacted a lawyer, an old friend of my husband's, now retired, but sharp. He offered to help free of charge. Then, 2 weeks later, a notice came in the mail. It was addressed to me but sent from a real estate company. "We received your inquiry regarding selling your property. Please confirm your listing details." I never made an inquiry. Tyler had. He'd gone that far, trying to sell my house out from under me. That was the final straw, but I didn't show my hand. I smiled that night at dinner when Shauna said they might be looking into some new places soon. I let them believe they were still in control. But in the background, I was documenting every detail. I met with my lawyer again. I called the police and filed a formal report. I even installed hidden cameras in the common areas. Nothing illegal, just enough to protect myself and gather proof. Because this wasn't just a betrayal anymore. This was war. And Tyler? He had no idea who he was trying to outsmart. About 3 days after I got the real estate letter, I got a call from the Department of Human Services. A woman named Valerie said she was doing a wellness check. Apparently, someone reported that I was mentally unfit, that I was forgetting things, endangering myself, and possibly being manipulated by strangers. She asked if I had any caregivers or family in the house. I sat there on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, blood boiling. Tyler had reported me. He was trying to build a case that I was incompetent, that I needed a guardian, likely him. That way, if the bank fraud didn't work, he could still take legal control of my money. I asked Valerie if she could tell me who filed the report. She said it was anonymous but had family connection language. I thanked her and told her I'd be happy to meet with her in person. She came by 2 days later. I had all my papers in order, my home clean, every detail documented. My lawyer even called in to confirm what had been happening. Valerie apologized before she left. "I've seen this before," she said. "You'd be shocked how many adult children try to take control of their parents' lives once they hit retirement. You're clearly of sound mind and frankly, more prepared than most people half your age." I didn't smile. I just nodded. But inside, I felt a new kind of fire, not rage, strategy. I had a friend, Sandra, who used to work at Tulsa County Court. She now consults part-time for adult protective services and elder law attorneys. I told her everything. She offered to do a background check on Tyler and Shauna. 3 days later, she called me back. "Teresa," she said, "you're going to want to sit down." Turns out Tyler had racked up over $28,000 in credit card debt over the last year. And Shauna, she'd been sued twice before. Once for financial misrepresentation during a house flip deal in Austin and once by a former roommate for coerced asset transfer, whatever that means. But it got worse. They both applied for a high-limit joint credit line 2 months ago, using my home address and listing me as a financial backer. They had tried to use my name to build credit for themselves. I was stunned, and I was scared, but I was also done. That night, I walked through my house like I always do, picked up dishes they left out, turned off the TV. And then I checked the camera footage from earlier that day. Shauna had gone into my bedroom when I was at physical therapy. She didn't even try to be subtle. She opened drawers, opened my jewelry box, took something. I saw her slide it into her purse. My mother's brooch. She didn't even ask. I copied the footage to a drive, printed still frames, emailed it to my lawyer. The next morning, I called the locksmith. Had every lock changed? My lawyer filed for an emergency protective order and sent a cease and desist notice. We had full documentation, audio recordings, bank fraud, real estate fraud, attempted identity theft, elder abuse filings, and now video evidence of theft. But I didn't kick them out just yet. I wanted to hit back hard, but it had to be clean, legal, devastating. I wanted the world to see what kind of man my son really was, and I wanted him to watch it all fall apart, piece by piece. 2 days after I sent the footage to my lawyer, everything was set in motion. That morning, I acted like it was a normal day. Made coffee, toast. Didn't say a word to Tyler or Shauna. Tyler didn't look up from his laptop. Shauna was wearing my old cardigan, one I hadn't seen in months. She was smiling at her phone. At 10:12 a.m., the knock came. 2 uniformed officers stood at the front door. I opened it. "Teresa Martin?" one asked. "Yes," I said. Calm and ready. "Come in." Tyler came into the hallway confused, then pale. "What's going on?" he asked, already panicking. The officer turned to him. "Mr. Martin, we have a warrant to search this residence in connection with an ongoing investigation into fraud, theft, and elder financial abuse. You are being served with a protective order and are no longer allowed to reside here." He stuttered. "No, wait, what? This is my mother's house." "Correction," I said, holding up the deed. "It's my house, and I've had enough." Shauna came out of the bedroom just as the officers entered. She saw the paperwork and tried to act innocent. "This is a mistake," she said, reaching for her purse. The officers stepped in front of her. "Ma'am, we've seen the footage. We'll be recovering stolen property today as well." They searched everything. Found the missing brooch in Shauna's purse. Found copies of my documents in Tyler's laptop case, some altered, some blank with forged signatures. They found the credit applications listing my name and address. And best of all, they found a folder marked Plan B in Tyler's Google Drive. He'd uploaded it from his laptop thinking it was safe, but my lawyer had access by then. It had typed out instructions on how to gradually gain financial authority over me. It even included fake doctor notes he planned to use in court to try and get guardianship. The police had enough. They didn't arrest them on the spot. That would come later. But they served both with charges and ordered them out of the house immediately. They had 15 minutes to collect their things. They were not allowed to speak to me. Tyler tried to beg. He whispered, "Mom, please. You're overreacting. We're family." I didn't even look at him. He left with 2 bags. Shauna didn't say a word. She walked out with her chin up and rage in her eyes. Over the next few months, everything unfolded. The bank formally flagged all attempts Tyler had made on my account. He was blacklisted from holding any financial services license again. I heard through my lawyer that he tried applying for a job at a fintech company, got rejected when the fraud report came up. Shauna was charged with misdemeanor theft and fraud. She took a plea. She had to pay restitution for the stolen jewelry and for using my name on the credit applications. Tyler was charged more seriously: attempted financial elder abuse, identity fraud, and document forgery. He took a deal that avoided jail but left him with a felony on record. He cried in court when the judge read it aloud. The best part? Because I had proof he'd used my address and identity for credit and financial documents, I was able to file a civil claim too. The court awarded me a lien on any future income they report for the next 10 years. So now every job they take, every paycheck they get, I'll be taking a piece, not out of greed. Just to remind them, you don't steal from the person who gave you everything. I also did something else. I wrote a full statement and sent it to our extended family. Aunts, cousins, Tyler's old teachers, even his high school principal. I made sure people knew the truth. No dramatics, just facts. At the end of the letter, I wrote, "If you want to know what betrayal looks like, ask the son I raised. He turned into someone I don't recognize, and I hope one day he finally does. I'm not proud that it came to this, but I'm proud I didn't back down. And I'm proud that, even at 68, broken back and all, I stood up for myself when it mattered most. Because family doesn't mean loyalty. And sometimes, revenge isn't about rage, it's about justice."